I lost my first 3 fights, but then went on to win 19 after that. In that 19, I won my first national title. 2017, you've got the European Games in Ukraine, and
You said that was your best win.
yeah, it's got to be, lad. It was in Ukraine, you know what I mean? Like it was quite busy in there, and like everyone was just obviously all for him, lad. When he raised my arm, lad, it was just the sickest feeling, lad, that I've had like in my amateur career.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years, lad. I'm definitely a world champion. Like if not, at some point I want to become a world champion at super bantam first.
I think I saw some stories, but were there some like beds made of paper or something?
Like what we lived on, what we slept in, yeah. Lad, they were made of like cardboard, like yeah.
Cardboard, yeah.
But like obviously the mattress, we had the sound mattress, like, but that was funny, lad.
Out of everyone that's come out of Team GB, obviously, like your accolades, everything that you've done is incredible. When did you actually start boxing? Because you come from a boxing family, right?
Yeah, my dad used to have a blast years ago, and I think my 2 granddads did too. So it's obviously it does run in the family, like. And I think my older brother, he done like a week or 2 weeks well before us, but didn't stick at it. He's a good footy player, because he plays Sunday League, and there was like, so I played footy for years myself. We had a belter team, Townsend boys, and one of my mates, Aaron, he was going to Devon Triangle, where obviously I fight out of now, and he said to us, there was 6 of us who went to the same school, played for the same footy team. He said to us, come down and that, know what I mean? And I think about 5 out of the 6 of us that was something to do in the school and play for Townsend boys. The 5 of us went down then. I think Adam was already there, so another 4 of us went. Obviously it just went from there, lad. It was.
How was it the first time? Putting the gloves on and...
I can't like fully remember, do you know what I mean? I can remember being obviously dead small, lad, and then you going in, and I can remember sparring a lad called Callum Moon, and I don't know whether this was like the first week or not, but he'd obviously been boxing for time. Callum, I don't think he fights no more, but Callum was a good fighter, and I remember sparring him, and obviously I was quite new to it, and I remember thinking he's naughty, you know what I mean? Like when I was younger, and then obviously as the weeks went by, as the months went by, I was getting better, and then you're on like the same level as them, do you know what I mean? But it was, I think on like the first week, or it might have been the first 2 weeks, me coach Paul, he said to me, Dad, he'll be a national champion, and 3 years later, I was, when my first year in the schoolboys. I had my first fight when I was 11, but I lost my first 3 fights, but then went on to win 19 after that, and that was when, in that 19, I won my first national title, and I won my first box for England for the first time, because when you win the ABAs, you go to the Tri Nations, and obviously you box the champion of Wales, champion of Scotland, and I won my first Tri Nations gold medal there. So it was that's how it started, and then it just went from there. Then just year in year out, I was winning national titles, and I think I ended up winning like 7 national titles, but the amateurs is, obviously I'm pro now, aren't I? But everything I've done in the amateurs, step by step, as you say, we've lost my first 3, then I won the 19 in a row, first national title, first GB gold medal, 3 Nations. It's like all stepping stones like that. You keep going, then you're boxing in the junior ABAs, I won them, youth ABAs, won them, and then senior ABAs, won them. But before I won the senior ABAs, it was like around the time of the youth level it was, because I was out in, I boxed, was in won the ABAs, and then I boxed in the 3 Nations, but that year was, it's mad, because it's our timing really, because it's so the timing of that for us, which you could say it's luck really, you know what I mean, for our age group, because I boxed in the 3 Nations, and for that 3 Nations for that year, for us, was a qualifying event. Not a qualifying event, but if you won it, you would go and represent at youth level. It worked out you'd represent GB, Team GB, in the World Championships, the Youth World Championships, which was a qualifying event for the Youth Olympics, you know what I mean? And the Youth Olympics are be every 4 years, like the main Olympics. So it's half looking at that, it works out for that year. And I boxed no Cash Farouk, boxed him in I think it was in Scotland, or might have been Wales, Swansea, can't remember, but boxed him in the final. And I beat him, so that meant I'd go to Youth Worlds then. And we had a decent team thing. We went with like Lee McGregor was there, Vidal Riley, he was there. I think Muhammad Ali, he was there as well. Trying to think who else was there. There was probably other people. There obviously was other people, but can't think off the top of my head. But we had a decent team, you know what I mean? A few of the lads are pro now, doing well. And obviously I got a bronze there. But I boxed a Kazakh in the semis, Zoltan Zaubek. You're on him now. He's pro now. He's fighting in England, didn't he? And definitely won the fight, lad. Like even like everyone was booing at the end and that, know what I mean? Like I won the fight. If you ever watch it on YouTube, I won that fight, but obviously didn't get the decision. But I got a bronze medal and I was still qualified for the Youth Olympics then. And a few months later, I was out in China at the Youth Olympics. And when we went there, lad, it was like, obviously I'd been to the few Three Nations tournaments and I'd been to the Youth Worlds, but this was just on another level, lad, know what I mean? It's obviously it's like the Olympic Games in it, but just the youth version. It was just like, it was only three of us went, me, Muhammad Ali, and then Vidal Riley. It was just mad, lad. It was just a big village.
My name is Dennis McCann, professional boxer for Frank Moore and MTK Global. This is Fortress Boxing. A lot more protection. It's a no-brainer. Around your thumbs, around your knuckles, around my wrist. That's exactly where I have the problems at. They're very compact, so I feel like I'm punching hard with them on as well. And I feel like when you got sparring 14, 16 ounce gloves, the smaller wraps can't really. They're too small for the gloves. That makes sense. So these are a bit bigger, and they're getting the gloves a bit more. They're making them more compact. 1, 2, hook. Go.
How old were you at that time?
2014 it was, lad. So I think would have been 18. Mm-hmm. Would I have been 18? 27 now. 9 years ago, yeah, 18, lad. And it was like, just, obviously I'd boxed for years, know what I mean? And I was quite experienced, but this was like, just different, lad. It was just it was just unbelievable. Like, just the experience, know what I mean? Just all mad countries everywhere, all different sports. It was like the first multi-sport thing that I'd been to, you know what I mean? Obviously I've been to the Olympics, the Commonwealths, but that Youth Olympics, that was like the first like
real wipe.
Yeah, it was boss, lad. It was just like, just how many countries were there and all the different sports, and just even just into like, there was a little Mac cafe on the in the village, and obviously we were making weights and that, know what I mean? So we couldn't really go in much, but when we'd had a little sweat on that, we were just nailing these little mango fruit cooler things, lad. And like, when you're making weights and that, anything's heavy in your mouth, but especially them cold drinks, lad. When you've been sweating it out and that, it's that's one thing I remember. Like, but after that, yeah, after them Youth Olympics, lad, that's when we got on the squad. Then me and Vidal never I think he got a trial with us, but I don't think he never come. He mustn't have wanted. I think he went on a different path for a bit, but obviously he's flying now and he's doing well now. But that's when me and Muhammad Ali got on the squad then. And then it went from there then, lad. And it was just, when you get on that GB, you're just travelling the world, like, being to some of the maddest gaffs ever that I probably never would have went to, you know what I mean? So it was boss, lad.
Yeah. What changed from having a few losses early on when you were obviously inexperienced as a novice? What happened during that time from that to you just winning 19 in a row and getting the call-ups?
Yeah, I don't know.
Was there like a click in your head where you just started boxing better? You got used to the rounds, maybe?
Yeah, well, it's one of them. I was only 11 when I so it's I think like the first 2 fights were probably getting out of the ring. Just you're only 11. I was probably still smiling at, but I always remember my coach saying on like the third one, he felt like I was on my third loss, my third fight, that I was a little bit different when I got out of the ring. But I can't really remember fully what was in my head then. But
did you care much about the losses at the time, or was you just enjoying it?
Yeah, as I say, I can't really remember. But I lost the 3 fights on split decisions. It's not like I got my head punched in on I don't think, know what I mean? But I'm really gonna get your head punched anyway. You're about 11, aren't you? You're just learning your craft and that, just in and out. I was just on my feet in and out. And when you watch my debut, we've got it's a bit funny when you watch it back because we've got it on a disc there. But yeah, I don't know. It's just it's all part of the story, innit? It's like you're heard of pros that lose the first fight and that, but I've heard, I can't think of an example now, but
Tevin Farmer.
People
He's lost a few.
People have told me in the amateurs as well. I don't know whether someone said they lost like the first fight, no, like a well-known fighter, someone
Luke
like
Campbell.
Bernard Hopkins as well, or even Luke Campbell. Yeah, I've heard these. So it's just all like, it makes your story better, like in a way. Do you know what I mean? At the time, it's one of them. You 3 lost 3. You know what I mean? But like you're only 11. It was just still obviously people might have like, I don't know about 11-year-olds, like, but say if you're like 16, 17, you lose your first 3. There's probably people who it might have happened to and they've just thought, this was not for me. This like nowhere, they're just gutted and that. But obviously, I'm made up and stuck at it. Like, know what I mean? It's so that's why we're here now talking, innit?
Yeah. So when you got called up to Team GB, what was the transition? You must have gone obviously from your local club, and then like, did you go all of a sudden balls to wall, three sessions a day? You're being tested here and there.
Yeah.
Is it a whole new experience of you're around like the best in the country?
Yeah, it's boss lad. I was half dying to get on the squad in the end because. So when I was speaking to you then about the Youth Olympics, me, Ali, and Vidal, because we were qualified for the Youth Olympics on the Youth Worlds, I think there was about, don't know how many months between, but we were going up to Sheffield, training with at that time, it was called, now they call it Podium Potential and Podium, but I think at that time it was called like Development and Podium, something like that. So we was, and the development would do Thursday to Sunday every other week, and the podium was Monday to Thursday every week. So we were going up with the development squad. This is like before we were on the squad, and we were going up training with them. And then it's mad time really, because I don't know how many weeks before, but before the Youth Olympics, some of the development squad were going to China for a training camp, and then at the end of the training camp they had a little tournament. So we were training with them, and then we went over to China with them. But like, we weren't on the squad, know what I mean? So we sort of, it was like we were on the squad, but like we weren't getting no funding and just like, we weren't on paper. We were on the squad, but we sort of knew what it was about, know what I mean? And we did, like, my first trip away was with them, was China. Well, GB coaches come to Bulgaria, but I mean, like, with the squad as a team was China, and like, I was only 18, know what I mean? It's mad. It's like, just going to China is just mad, lad. And that gaff, it was called like Jiang or something.
Yeah.
It was proper, it just was one of the maddest gaffs I'd ever been to at that point, know what I mean? But, so, when we did, obviously, we went to Youth Olympics, I got a bronze. I think Ali might have got a silver or a bronze. I think he definitely medalled. I'm not sure what Fidel done. When we did eventually get on, it was, it's not like everything was fully brand new, because we knew what it was about. We'd been staying in the gaffs with the lads and that, and we'd been up and that. But once you got on, you just, like, you're proper proud of yourself, know what I mean? Obviously, my mum and my dad and that was obviously all made up. I think around the time I'd only just sort of relatively new with my bird as well. So obviously everyone just made up for me, and like, your boxing for GB, I've been fighting since I was 10, know what I mean? And you'd seen, obviously you had like London and that in 2012, didn't you? And obviously I was quite young, and obviously once you get on GB, that's like sort of another stepping stone to the Olympics sort of thing. Once you're on there, then you know, like, I'm on the right path here, and if I keep doing what I'm doing, then I'll get to the Olympics, know what I mean?
Yeah, representing your country, as well as just being around all of the talent that you've progressed with over the years. I'm sure you got some stories of the trips as well.
Yeah, there's a few belters. Like, we've had some boss times. That we went out to Rio. No, like, a few of us went out. Me mate Blaine Ireland. My other mate Tom Hart was meant to come, but he ended up doing his ankle in, lad, a few weeks before. So obviously he weren't sparring, but he missed out on a good one there. But when we went there, and like, the atmosphere, lad, in the arena in Rio was like just next level compared to any other tournaments I've been to, you know what I mean, over the years. And it was then that I thought, because I could have turned pro then, lad, you know what I mean, 2016, I know I hadn't made the Olympics, but I'd been on GB for a little 2 years. I'd been to a few tournaments, I think I might have won basically every tournament I'd been to then, or I might have got a cut in one the Stranger, and I pulled out because I had a WSB fight. But yeah, I'd had good experience at that point, but once I'd been over there in Rio, and I just seen like all the crowds were doing like Mexican waves and that, and I was just looking around thinking like this is a bit of me, this is what I want, and it was out there that I decided like I'm gonna stay on and obviously try and make Tokyo, and obviously we got there in the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, brilliant. And I want to hear all about the Commonwealth Games and the European Games as well.
Yeah.
You said off air you're the first guy from Liverpool.
Yeah.
Right? Tell us the whole trip, the whole experience. How was it?
So obviously that was when we went to Rio. That was 2016, and it was Kez Ashfaq went to the Olympics at my weight, and so he's Tingyod left after Rio. So then obviously I went into the number one spot, even though I was good in my head, lad. I was good. I was the number one spot even before Rio. In like, just, you know what I mean? I thought I was good enough. Not obviously I weren't as experienced as Kez, but I believe ability-wise I was good enough to go to Rio. But obviously it weren't meant to be, and it's just one of them things. So decided we're going to stay on. So I've obviously ended up going into the number one spot at 56 kg it was at that point. So 2017, we've got the European Games in Ukraine, and that was like my first. I'd won a few tournaments anyway. The GBs, the Felix Stam won that twice. I think that was before Rio. I'm trying to think what else might I have won. Won the ABAs as well. I think won the ABAs 2015. Yeah, so it was flying, lad. Know what I mean? Obviously coming into 2017, and it was my first major tournament. I think I was about 2017, it was about 21, first major tournament, and get out there and I'm flying, lad, and boxing well. I think I beat the seed number 1, or the Ukrainian might have been seed number 1 anyway, but got thrown against the high seed. I had a Belarusian kid who'd had the bronze at the Worlds in 2015, and I beat him. Beat a decent Spanish kid.
Was that in the quarters you beat him?
The Belarusian, I'm trying to think, that might have been, yeah, but I was boxing well, lad, know what I mean, and I was, in my head, there was just no one there was beating me, know what I mean, and we've got to the final, and obviously it's in Ukraine. I'm boxing this Butchenko. He's quite experienced at the time, more experienced than me. I think he'd been to a few major tournaments. Don't even know whether he might have been to Rio as well, but it was just, obviously I'm boxing the Ukrainian lad in the European final, and I knew that like the night before I was thinking like, win this and I'm the first Scouser to have ever won a European gold at like the European Championships. And like obviously, you know, the fighters that have come out of Liverpool, lad, the likes of Callum Smith, he's went through the same setup as me, and then you've got world champions, past world champions, Tony Bellew, all of the Smiths as well, all other fighters as well, but I was just thinking to myself, like, this is yours, know what I mean? This is yours, and this should be the first ever Scouser, like, to making history. Like, my name's always there, know what I mean? If any other kid, hopefully, young Scousers coming through, that end up on the GB setup and come through, hopefully they win a European gold. And like, obviously, I'll always get mentioned, like, Peter McGrail was the first Scouser to win it and stuff like that. And I think it was only the second ever person in like 56 years. The other one was Luke Campbell to win it. So obviously it's in the fight. I don't win the fight majorly clear, but I win the fight. But in the fight, but I think it was round 2. The ref takes a point off me for literally, it was nothing really. If anything, he put my head down, know what I mean? The Butchenko, and I've come up and then the ref took a point off me. So obviously it's like in the fight, I'm fighting my heart out, know what I mean? Fight my heart out any fight. And with the point getting took off me, I was obviously feeling a bit, I was just thinking, they're gonna, I'm not getting it and that now at the end of the fight. And I think the way it worked out, lad, obviously 3 judges went for me and 2 went for him. But the 3 judges that obviously give me it 2 rounds to 1. Because they give me it 2 rounds to 1, but I had the points took off me. It worked out that they're at 29-29, would you say? Yeah, 29-29. So then I think they had to, cause it took ages, lad. So they had to go to them again and say, pick one. Do you know what I mean?
So are you waiting in the ring for quite some time?
Yeah, and then I think that's the way it worked, yeah. They had to go to them because they had 29-29, and obviously you can't have a draw, lad. It's how much you're boxing, you know what I mean? And well, I don't think you can. And they've obviously all went for red, which was me. And just, lad, when they raised me on, lad, it was just like, just the sickest feeling, lad, that I've had like in my amateur career. And it's funny, when you watch it back, I just screamed in the camera, ERT. That's like having that triangle, no, like, my gym, like, I've obviously been there since I was 10. And I've seen videos of, like, there was loads of people in ours, like, whenever I was away fighting, and my mum and dad couldn't make it. Because you could always stream them, lad. Most things you could stream them, even like the little tournaments. Everyone would go round to ours, lad, and there'd be like a firm of people in ours. I've always got pictures of like firms in ours, and then I've got videos and that of like when I won that, and I've got videos when I won the Commonwealth as well. And it's just sick, lad. Just boss, just proper, just mad how made up everyone is for me. You know what I mean? And it's that was probably, that's got to be, it's got to be made history, lad. And just the way it all worked out, you know what I mean? Especially, it mightn't have been as good, lad, if the kid was from Spain or something, and it was in Ukraine, but just like, because I think he was a high seed as well, but Senko, so just everything about it, lad, just because it was my first major tournament as well. So yeah, that was boss, lad. It was
So you said that was your best win?
Yeah, it's got to be, lad. If it made history, first ever Scouser. He was from Ukraine, it was in Ukraine, you know what I mean? Like, it was quite busy in there, and like everyone was just obviously all for him, lad. So
how did you find the food on the travels? Obviously, like, you're in a lot of European countries in your tournaments and that. Did you find it strange sometimes when you're just trying to have decent meals throughout the day, like when you're plunked in certain hotels or?
Yeah, it's, lad, you know what? When you go to tournaments and that, they weren't too bad, because at that time, I didn't really eat veg that much, me. So I was just eating just like chicken and rice, you know what I mean? And sometimes you wouldn't even really be eating carbs. You'd eat carbs on like fight day, you know what I mean? But other than that, lad, I wouldn't really eat much anyway, because I'd always, don't know, just be quite tight at the weight sort of thing. But there has been some countries, lad, like on training camps and that, where the food's been just moody, you know what I mean? We went to Uzbekistan one time, lad, and they must have flew into Tashkent, and then we were driving for about, it was like we were just driving away from civilization, lad, for like 2 hours. Went like sort of driving through the city now for a bit, and then we just hit mountains, lad, and then once we hit the mountains, we were literally still driving for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and we've got there, and no one had signal on the phones. It was before that, 2017 actually, and I got a gold, and the team got like, it's like being like one of the best Europeans. I don't know how they've done at that Europe. That was the European Games that they've been at now, but to that date, that was the best European Games we'd had. I got the gold, and I think we got about 6 silvers or something. It's mad, because the training camp that like I'm speaking about now, when we got there, we had no signal on our phones, and the coaches ended up going and getting like SIMs, and like I think it was like Chev. Now, if your phone was unlocked, you throw the SIM in, and like he was getting the hotspots on. So there was about I think we had two SIMs, so we had 2 hotspots, and there was about 10 heads lad on the hotspot, so all sitting there waiting to just send one WhatsApp, but so like no one was really on the phones, you know what I mean? And I feel like I don't feel like I know it brought everyone together, and we were sparring the Uzbeks, like you there, we weren't even sparring the number ones, sparring 2, 3 and 4, but like they were all naughty fighters, you know what I mean? And you'd get in a group where there was only one or each weight there. There might have only been one or each weight there for GB, but there was 3 of them. So you get in a group sparring, and so you'd have like 2 little squares going, 2 little rings. There was loads, a full like a big gymnasium, and they'd put like crisscrosses over, you know what I mean? And so you'd be sparring with the Uzbek, say you do 2 rounds with an Uzbek, and he'd be like trying to, obviously the spar's decent, you know what I mean? You're trying to hit each other. It's just obviously some Uzbek kid, you don't even know him, lad. It's half going off, but you'd look to the left, and the other 2 Uzbeks that are meant to be sparring are just standing there like that, just watching their mates trying to obviously take your head off, and then they'd be dying. They couldn't wait to get in, lad, and be that, know what I mean? So it's at the time you think, they should be sparring them, but really, it done us good, because fucking we were all proper ready, lad. When we got to them at Ukraine, like we were all not even just ready boxing fitness wise. Like it half brought us closer together, because obviously if you've got no phones and that, we were just all spending time with each other. Know what I mean? It was just going and setting like fires and that on some mad little thing and that. It was just the setting of the training camp and that. But back to the food. That's why I ended up getting onto that. The food there was madness, lad. Like it was just the maddest bits of meat ever. They kept putting this green thing in the scran, lad. I don't know whether it was like basil or whether it was coriander or I don't know. Just some mad thing what I proper just didn't like, and they just put it all over your scran in these mad little stews and soups. And I think Pat and Luke ended up, I don't know whether it was at the same time or separate times, but they ended up proper in a bad way off the scran. And I think a few other people did. Yeah, they were fucked. They were half like fucked for days. I was sweet, like I didn't get too bad, but yeah, that was probably one of the, it's like you can say one of the maddest gaffs that I've been to, but it was probably boxing wise and tournament wise, even for the team over the years, probably one of the best training camps. Like,
how long were you out there for?
All in all, I can't even remember, you know, but I reckon it was about 10 days or something. But,
and who did you get close with during that time?
At the time, lad, just like close to everyone really, but at the time, my mate Tom Hart, he's from Liverpool. Like he's my mate outside the boxing. Obviously, I ended up close to him because of the squad. I didn't really speak to him that much before I joined GB, but when I joined GB, obviously he's a scouser on the squad. I ended up close to him, and I was in a room with him there. But just everyone really together, like, 'cause we were all training together every day, 3 times a day, and just in the night, lad, when you're not training, when there was not much to do, then you were all I just remember Case and Chev, me lad, saying fucking, I'm sure Chev was changing the Pazzi on the hotspot. I used to just fucking say, come on lad, we need to fucking need some fucking Wi-Fi, lad. But it's funny, it was boss defo like you just think, like, if we went to a different training camp somewhere, still would have got good work and that, but you just think would the team have done that well in when we eventually got to Ukraine, you know what I mean? Because as I said, the sparring was naughty, and just the way it was, it just brought us all together and that.
What do you think? What was their style like, the Uzbekistan?
The Uzbeks, they're just all, lad, they're just brilliant boxers, lad. They're proper clever, lad. They're good boxers and that, but they're tough as well, you know what I mean? They're like little beasts, lad. They're proper strong, and like the way, if that's like you look at like Sheffield, lad, we've got it fucking lovely, like, compared to what they've got it, know what I mean? They're like just literally in the sticks, lad. There was nothing, literally nothing, lad. We were just literally in the mountains, like, and like that's probably why they're all so ready, lad. Know what I mean? Why they're all little beasts, lad. Them Uzbeks, and it's like there's nothing to do there really, lad, apart from go to the gym and then eat, go to the gym, eat, sleep.
There's no distractions.
Literally, lad. There was no distractions there, lad, and it is good. It is good, like.
Yeah, so you've had momentum your whole career,
and
especially in Team GB, the limelight. Everywhere you've been, you've medalled, you've done brilliantly, and then coming to the Commonwealth Games, that obviously it was all televised. So at this point now, you've got the whole country behind you watching. How was that? How was the whole experience?
Yeah,
Australia?
The Commonwealth was sick, lad. It was like the village there was like, the weather was heavy. It was you used to be able to get a little train, just a 10-15 minute train ride down to that surfers paradise, the Gold Coast. Just like the beaches there, lad, are heavy. But we had it we have had it nice, lad, on our like little setup for Team England, or whether it was Team England or just the boxing. I think it was Team England. Had like your own building, and then you had like, we had a little pool on the village. You had like our own little like coffee like a little coffee thing, lad, know what I mean? It was just like everything about it was just boss, lad. And
I think I saw some stories, but were there some like beds made of like paper or something? Like the beds were a little bit.
by the pool.
I can't.
Oh
remember.
no, like what we lived on, what we
Yeah,
slept in,
yeah.
lad. They were made of like cardboard, lad.
Yeah, cardboard, yeah.
But like obviously the mattress we had
Yeah.
the sound mattress, like. But that was funny, lad. That we
I think it was Ben Whittaker.
Yeah,
His
he
stories.
did. The beds were made of cardboard, lad. But obviously they've got major beds, haven't they, for everyone? But about that trip, lad, I always remember. I was in a room with Frenchie, Colin French, and after training, lad, or after a fight and that, we'd go and get in the ice bath, and I think they used to have it like 9 or 10 degrees, which doesn't sound that cold because all people by ours now are just getting in like 1s and 2s and that. But we used to sit in there for like 10 minutes, and because they'd tell us, you don't want to get in the hot shower straight away. You want, once you've been in the ice bath, you want your body to
Endure the chills and warm
like
itself
warm
back
itself back up, like, to get the full benefits and that. And I just always remember, like, we get in the ice bath and then we'd just go and we'd have our robes on and that, walk up to bed, and me and Frenchie would just be literally, because we'd have no fat on us, know what I mean? We were half just ripped to shreds, lad, on the weight and that constantly for the full trip. And me and Frenchie would just end up in bed, lad, for like 15-20 minutes, just fucking, like, obviously his bed's there, my bed's here, and we'd just be shivering, lad, just laughing, saying, what the fuck, like, what, this is fucking madness, this. But obviously you do anything, you do as much as you can, lad, to obviously feel better in the ring. But I'm trying to think, lad, what else. Even like before we got to the village, lad, we went to Brisbane for like 10 days or something. No, like, obviously getting used to the time and that, and getting used to everything, and that was just that was a belter. I'd love to go back. My bird come over in the end. My bird's auntie lived just outside of Brisbane, and like they had like boat taxis, lad. No, like a taxi. Well, yeah, boat taxi. Had a taxi, but obviously on the water.
Yeah, they've got Ubers, boat Ubers.
Yeah,
And
and lad,
sorts.
it's just just different to by ours, lad. But like I don't think after being in Sheffield, I feel like I could never. No, just get off somewhere. I couldn't anyway, lad, because I've got my gym, lad, Everton Triangle. But just that Australia, lad, it's boss, lad. But we had it nice there, lad. No, just for our Commonwealth games to fought. We've had it nice to Commonwealth and the Olympics, lad. Like Australia, the Gold Coast, and then Tokyo, lad. Well, there again, the Olympics. The Olympics, you could say it was decent that it fell there, but it was we didn't get to do nothing. You know what I mean? But obviously we speak about that in a minute. But
Yeah.
the Commonwealth was sick, lad. It was just, as you said, everyone was behind you. Like, no, even like when you were fighting, obviously my bird was there.
Were they
Pat and
like
Luke's.
where? So you was in the village. Where were they all staying?
My bird was in her auntie's, lad, which was just about half an hour, 40 minutes away, I think. That the Brisbane from the Gold Coast, I might be wrong, but she was staying in Brisbane. And then obviously some of the lads' families come over. Frenchie's auntie or ma come over, I think. Pat and Luke's ma and that come over with their mate. Trying to think who else. But even like like strangers, obviously, lad, loads of English are in Australia, aren't they? And like when you're fighting, you just hear like English voices shouting like, come on England, and that, know what I mean? And just the atmosphere in there was boss, lad. The atmosphere in the stadium there was bossing. I think obviously, lad, England, when you go to Commonwealth Games, England are always like one of the best teams there, do you know what I mean? So we all done well. We got a few goals and that. And it was boss, lad. I ended up staying out there for like 5 days after everyone had got home, and like ended up renting a big Audi, lad, a big Q7, lad. I was just won a Commonwealth gold medal, lad, flying around. The sun was out, so flying around in this big Q7, just thinking like, this is fucking
Amazing.
Life's good, lad, know what I mean? It was funny, lad. It was boss, but
The actual competition, the people that you fought, did you feel straight away? Obviously, you never want to underestimate, but did you already feel like that gold medal's mine? Was that your mindset?
Yeah, well, obviously it was. I knew my toughest fight was probably going to be the Irish kid who boxed in the final, Kurt, because he's all good fighting on him. He's good fighter, very long, big for the weight, just throwing big 1-2s, just like half a bit of awkward style, Irish style and that. He's good fighter, but and I knew, like, ability-wise, technical-wise, that I was levels above most of the kids, know what I mean? But some of these Africans, like the Ghana kid I fought, and he was wild, but like if he landed one of his shots on the chin, know what I mean? You're probably gonna feel it. He's just swinging big mad bombs from his ankles, but like obviously you can just see them. So I was half just rolling under them, and well, I boxed a Kenyan kid, Ghana kid, but you know what? I'd probably say the Indian kid that I boxed, he was like toughness wise and that, he was probably an harder fighter when I boxed Kurt. Kurt's a bit more technical, know what I mean? But the even though I won all my fights comfortable, they're still tough fights because they're just mad. Like that Ghanaian was mad, lad. He was just swinging, as I said, the maddest ducks ever. And obviously you need to be switched on that. But it was, I think I only had 4 fights there. Boxed a Kenyan, Ghana kid, Indian, and then I boxed Kurt then in the final, yeah. So, but then in England v Ireland as well, it's like a little derby in it. So it's,
had you boxed with the Irish kid before that?
Yeah, I think I had, you know. I think it was 2018. Yeah, I boxed him. I beat him in the GBs, and then he beat me in the European Unions. I'm trying to think, was the European Unions before? I think they might have been. So it might have been 1-1 going into that, do you know what I mean? So it was like 1-1, it was England v Ireland, the Commonwealth Games final. That's if I'm right. The European Unions could have been after, but I don't know. So it could have been 1-1, but then obviously it was 2-1 to me. But I boxed him since. I boxed him in the European Games then, didn't I? Boxed him in the European Games, but he won. So it's 2-2, lad. But so you never know. We couldn't be decent meeting in the pros, lad, in a few years' time when we're both flying, know what I mean?
Definitely. So what did you do after Commonwealth Games? You had to, I guess, wait for the...
over there? Or do you mean boxing?
Boxing.
Yeah. After the Commonwealth Games, lad, I know 2019 I had the European Games, but I'm trying to think, lad, 2018 after the Commonwealth, that was obviously, don't know, you know, maybe, oh yeah, I think I might have had a box this Italian kid in WSB, because WSB was on around that time, and the WSB, they were going to know each person's city, like, obviously they come to Liverpool for me, they went to Newcastle for Pat, and Luke, did Luke fight? One of them fought. No, Luke boxed on my one, because it was every other weight, and then I think Pat boxed in Newcastle. Trying to think, I feel like they went somewhere else, but they were going, no travelling around, and it was, don't know whether you've probably been in the Echo, but there's like a little gaff next to it, like, called the CUC. The WSB was coming to there, lad, which is quite a big thing. And obviously for me, it's the WSB's sick, lad. It was half like similar to the pros, you know what I mean? You get the day before weighing, you'd have no top on. So you had the 5 rounds. And I don't know what my record was at that point in the WSB. But I boxed good kids in the WSB, lad. I think my first fight in there, I boxed Shakur. I boxed Ramirez as well in the final. That was like 2015. But
where did you fight Shakur Stevenson?
I boxed him in a place called Mikasuki. It was like just outside Miami. I think it was his first fight in the WSB as well. But yeah, that must have been, I don't know, 2021. But yeah, I had a good experience in that WSB. But boxed a few good kids in Liverpool after the Commonwealth. I boxed, I don't even remember his name now, but I think at that point he was like 10-0 or something. Or he might have been 6-0. But he was a pro anyway, you know what I mean? And I think he'd boxed for some sort of title. I don't think he won it, like, but it was and he was a bit older as well, but it was that was a good night, you know what I mean? Because it was quite, they were half like, no, like, what's the word? I can't think of the word, but you know, like getting it out there in the city and that for me, and I'm gonna come out to the, obviously I still come out to Dancing in the Moonlight now, and I come out to that then, and I think that might be where it sort of stuck from. Or no, I probably already come out to it in York Hall at that point, actually. But it was just sort of like a bit of a pro debut, lad, sort of thing, know what I mean? There was a few people in there and that, and I think Luke McCormick boxed that night, Ben Whittaker might have boxed that night too.
How did you actually find it, boxing the 5 rounds?
Well, but overall at WSB, lad, I liked it better for making the weight, because you don't even have to make the weight once, you know, like you go to them tournaments, lad, and you're like, you get 5 fights over, like sometimes you box 3 times in 3 days, and like you're getting out of the ring and you got to make the weight for the next morning. But the WSB was better. It just felt, I don't know what it was, that the lads will tell you, it just felt different, lad. Like, you felt bigger, because you'd had a day of scranning. You felt you'd have no top on. You'd had a walk out with a tune. Like, you'd had a little head-to-head with the kid and that. It was just felt different, know what I mean?
Introducing you to the program.
Sort of thing, like, yeah, it was like, yeah, I don't even know where the WSB is still going, but it was, it was half is what it is, but you say introducing you to the pro game, lad, but you're boxing at a high level, lad, compared to, like, you're probably boxing at, like, European level or something, some of the kids you're fighting, and then when you're boxing at, like, say, Shakur and Ramirez and that's probably, like, world level, know what I mean? So, you're getting heavy experience, know what I mean? On all aspects, in the ring, out of the ring. Because, like, you'd have, like, when we went to when we were at the WSB final, we done, like, a little press conference, lad, know what I mean? All the Cubans were sat there, and, like, all of us were sat there. So it's like, it's just different, lad, to the free freeze where you go into the tournament and there's, 25 kids all at a weight, you don't know who you're fighting, yeah. It's just a draw, and then it's like, yeah, you're fighting tomorrow, you're fighting him tomorrow, know what I mean? And then they've got to fight to see who you're winning and that. It was a different setup, and I think we were getting a bit of extra dough for it as well at some point, lad. So
that's good.
It was, yeah, it was decent, lad.
So who was your toughest fight in the amateurs?
In the amateurs, my toughest fight, lad, WSB included. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with, like, toughest. Probably Shakur or Ramirez, lad. Like, when I was boxing Shakur, it was, obviously I knew that, like, he was a bit of a star boy for them at that time anyway, because he's flying. He'd had youth world gold, youth Olympic gold and that, and obviously he's just a naughty fighter anyway, lad. But I was pushing the fight, know what I mean, lad, and then, like, just his defence was just, like, it's different, lad, to anyone that had been in there, where it was just...
And two southpaws as well.
And two southpaws, lad, yeah. He was just hard to it, clean, lad, know what I mean? But done 5 rounds, lad, it was good experience. It was my first WSB fight. It was, obviously, lad, on the other side of the world in the kids' back garden, know what I mean? It was...
How long did you have to acclimatise to the weather, the timing?
Don't know, I reckon we probably had about a little week or something, lad.
Because that's not long, really, is it?
Nah. We might have had longer, I can't remember, but it's fights like that, lads, where Ramirez beating the Ukraine kid, the European final, little derbies, Commonwealth Games final, and it's fights like that where it's like, to have, like, experience that you can't buy, you know what I mean? And
who was the hardest puncher? Was there anyone out there that you just didn't want to get caught by again?
Probably Ramirez, lad. When I think he went like an uppercut in the first round, lad, and, like, you knew you'd been it, know what I mean? Like, he's probably the hardest puncher yet that I've been in the ring with over the years, like, and it probably might be partly with the gloves as well, lad, know what I mean? Obviously, in the free freeze, in the tournaments and that, the gloves are a bit, well, not a bit, lad, they're majorly padded, and the WSB gloves were a little bit less padded, a bit more like the pro gloves. They weren't as bad as the pro gloves. Not bad, it's good, because when you're hitting kids, you're feeling it and that, but...
Are they 10s?
They were 10s, yeah, like I box in 8s now, they were 10s, but they were well less padded than the thing, know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But obviously it's the same for both ways, lad, but yeah, he was probably the strongest, at the hardest punch that I've been in with, like.
So, turning pro, when did you think, right, now's the time?
Probably even before the Olympics, lad, know what I mean? But when I qualified and that, like, obviously it got postponed a year, didn't it? I was wounded, like, we were all wounded, lad, like me, all of the lads, Pat, Luke, Galal, Fraser, and that, we were all, like, fucking... Obviously,
Crazy
we were looking
times.
forward to turning pro, lad. We would have been pro an extra year, sort of thing. So you think, like, where would we have been now if the COVID didn't come? But, like, it was always to go pro as soon as the Olympics was over. But obviously, it just come a bit quicker than expected. But there's always, like, a good side to things, lad. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, I would have rather have been in the Olympics for longer, because I got off, lad. As soon as I got beat, I think I got off like 2 days later. But
yeah,
and then obviously I had my debut, didn't I, on that beefy Fowler card.
It was quite shortly after, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. It half probably helped me just obviously not forget about it, because that'll just always be with me, lad. Like, it was standard for me to just be like, be in the tournament, lad, to the end, sort of thing. And then I was on the plane before people were I'd even boxed in that. We had to get off because of the COVID. They were trying to have less people in the village and that. So
Do you think that really affected leading up to the Olympics? Everything, your
it
mindset.
probably did, you know. I don't know, for different people it mightn't have think out on that, but if you look at it, lad, I was flying, lad. Do you know what I mean? And then the COVID come, and since the COVID, lad, I had 2 fights and lost both of them. Do you know what I mean? So because for some people it mightn't have affected them, lad, but if you look on paper, lad, it affected me some way or another. Do you know what I mean? Because I was as I said, I was flying, lad, before then and qualified for the Olympics. But when we come into the qualifiers, I boxed the Hungarian kid, lad, who like I should be beaten, lad. Do you know what I mean? And even the Thai kid, lad, I should be beating him. But with the Thai kid, lad, just half boxed the wrong fight, lad. It's mad. Like I was a bit too.
What would you have changed?
Lad, I would have just. I don't know. I had in my head, lad. He was like. I've sparred him loads, that Chachai, but you know what I mean? He's a nice kid and that. I've sparred him a few times. I've been to Chef and that, and I think I've sparred him in America or Kazakh, somewhere else anyway, in Thailand with there. And like, I just, like obviously in my head, lad, and I'm a better fighter than him. I'm not taking any away from him. He's proper good, him, lad. He's a good boxer, lad, and very, very experienced. It was like his third Olympics, but I just believed through like the sparring and just. Like even leading up to the camp, lad, leading up to the Olympics, I was flying, lad. My weight was good and was sparring well. But I reckon on the day, lad, it was just a bit too eager sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Just like I had in my head, like fucking.
Had you overlooked him, maybe as well?
Lad, I wouldn't say I overlooked him because I knew he's a decent fighter. You know what I mean? He was just he's a good southpaw and he's been about for years, but. Was half a bit. Just got the tactics wrong, lad, on the day. Do you know what I mean? Just I had in my head I need to go at him, like thinking he's old. I need to have box at a high pace and just basically put it on him, sort of thing, lad. Which realistically, lad, if I look back now, it was the wrong thing because I'm like that proper tense, lad, flying at him, and he even just as a look, lad, as a judge, me all tensed up, rushing things, and him just sat there, just like. He was just picking me off, lad. I just literally played into his trap, know what I mean? And obviously when you're around down, it's like, you feel like you got to chase it more then, and that's sort of what I did, and probably played into his trap more. But I just, if I was to go back, lad, and I was to have that fight again, I'd just...
Take a bit more time.
Yeah, lad, I just wouldn't rush it, you know what I mean? Because I feel like I haven't really done that throughout my amateur career, lad, and then I did, lad, on like, me last amateur fight, and it'll always do me head in, but it's... Obviously, lad, it weren't meant to be, and I got my debut there on that bill, which obviously if...
How was the debut?
Lad, that was sick, lad. That was unbelievable. That just... Eddie changed me thing, didn't he? Eddie changed the slot that I had to like 2 before the main event, and like that was... In Liverpool, lad, that was just... That card was like... Because it was 2 Scousers, you know what I mean? Beefy against Fowler. That was like... even like... walking around Liverpool now sometimes, or if I'm in the sauna gym, people still mention that, know what I mean? People won't be like, oh, I have boxed loads of times in Liverpool since. There was people that probably haven't been to boxing shows that I've been on since, but like that show, lad, it was just like everyone was just bothered about it, lad. There was just everyone was talking about it, and everyone was interested, yeah, lad. So to get me debut on that was it's like, I don't know, it was sort of. Not that it was a good thing losing at the Olympics, but it sort of didn't make it as bad, do you know what I mean? And I think I got a phone call, like it was probably about a week after getting home or something, 2 weeks, and it was like, do you want to have your debut on that? And it was just a no-brainer, lad, and that walkout, lad, was, I haven't had a walkout like it since, you know what I mean? I'm waiting for, I don't know what, lad, some sort of title, lad, in the Echo, hopefully headline, and I'm waiting for that to get something similar to that, because even like the build-up and that, Eddie was speaking well about me, and he was like, getting me a round of applause in the press conference, and just, don't know, it was just like, it was boss, lad. That walkout was unbelievable. It's still probably like, definitely my best walkout to date, you know what I mean? And obviously got the win on that, and it was just decent to have, like, go from obviously losing in the Olympics, and then obviously you've got the team and that there, but no one come over, lad, because because of the COVID. Like, we weren't even allowed out of the village and that, and I was sort of used to having people there over the years most of the time, like, because my mum and that, they were out in China for the Youth Olympics, they were in Hamburg for the Worlds. My babe was obviously in the Commonwealth Games. Like, there was normally people always there, sort of thing. So to go from like losing in the Olympics and just sort of not being on your own, you've got the lads in the team and that, but to winning in Liverpool, lad, like, it was only really, I don't even know, it was only a few months later, weren't it? And just winning, lad, with me mad and that there. Obviously, Chris, Joe, me bird, everyone, all my cousins and just all my mates and that. It was boss, lad, and it just decent to be back with Paul, know what I mean? I'd Paul in my corner, my coach lad, who hadn't been in my corner for, don't even know, even when I boxed Frenchie, 2015. He couldn't be in my corner then because at that time you couldn't have the who would it be, like the ABA, the English, the board, not the boxing board, 'cause that's the pro, but no, like the amateur version of the board. They weren't allowing pro coaches to do the corners, so Paul didn't even do my corner then. He hadn't been in my corner for ages, you know what I mean? So it was decent to obviously have Paul back in my corner, lad, where obviously I'd been just travelling the world, lad. But I always used to be on the phone to Paul anyway, like speaking about opponents and speaking about obviously me performances and that, and obviously he'd always watch them as much as he could, but it was just obviously a new lad that was on a new journey now, and like obviously everything I'd done in the amateurs, I wouldn't have probably got my debut, lad, on a bill like that, and certainly wouldn't have got pushed onto a slot like that on your debut if you hadn't done what I'd done in the amateurs, lad. So it was exciting times.
Yeah, and how have you found going from fighting world class opponents and winning everything in the amateurs to fighting journeyman at the start of your career?
Yeah, it's mad, lad. It is mad, like, because I just, as you know, it's on that amateur scene, lad. Especially like the likes of the Olympics and even like training camps, lad. Just the level you're at, them Kazakhs and Uzbeks and Russians, Americans, and they're all heavy. Like the skills and that, your spars and that, they're all high level. No, like just proper good work basically. And you're boxing these kids that they're not even looking to win. Do you know what I mean? But so like I don't know, you could switch off sometimes. You know what I mean? Like when I boxed on my debut, because I rushed that fight so much in the Olympics, I was proper just like, I just had in my head, just don't rush, you know what I mean? Just stay composed, stay relaxed, and I was like, I was parrot to rush anything because of obviously what happened in the Olympics, lad, know what I mean? Because I was just rushing and eager there, lad, and staff just got proper picked off, lad. But yeah, it's mad because I'm 7-0 now, but whatever you've done in the amateur, you can sort of push on quick, can't you know what I mean? And start stepping up the levels, which I am sort of anyway. The last boxed out of my last 3 fights, the 2 of the kids have been a little bit better than the likes of my first 2 or 3 fights, but it's I suppose it's just the way it goes, innit? You don't want to be obviously you got the likes of Lomachenko and that, but yeah, and did end up getting beat his second fight, but it's sort of is a different game with the gloves and that, you know what I mean? And obviously the WSBs have got us sort of halfway in between the Olympic style and the pro game. So with the likes of WSB and that, we don't have to get to fucking 15, 18 and all, lad. We're boxing someone with no winning records, know what I mean? Yeah. All of us coming off the Olympics and that. I think a few Pat's fighting for the title tonight, isn't he? Just trying to think who else. Fraser's on the verge of like British and that, and he so is Chev.
Galal already fight Wardley, ain't they?
Yeah. Galal already he boxed on his debut, lad, didn't he? He's an Olympic gold medalist, lad, flying, lad, yeah. So we're all be ready for whatever was to come, lad, know what I mean? But it is mad, lad. That's what we were all saying. Like I used to have conversations with Pat and Luke and that on the squad, that we always used to say, like, it's going to be mad when we first turn pro and that. Like saying like we've been going away fighting all these fucking like good, very, very good fighters and that, and then we knew what was coming, lad. We knew the level was going to drop, lad. But it's
Have you found the actual game, the pro game, in terms of like maybe sitting on your shots, and you know, it's not as much as like, how have you found that transition? Quite easy?
yeah, lad. Obviously growing up, like as like a teenager, I had a teenager, and even when I was on the squad in my 20s and all, I had pros in the gym. Kev Satch, Ryan Farag, Jazza Dickens, they were pro coming through the ranks, you know what I mean? So when I was younger, lad, I'd get in as much as I can and spar them. And they probably learnt me a few things now growing up over the years. And then obviously Paul, my coach, then he had the likes of Nick Ball, Andrew Kane, Brad Strand, and like while I was on the squad, they were all just building their pro career. So when obviously you probably get showed different things. I'd probably get showed different things with Paul, and I would going to Sheffield, because obviously it's amateur boxing and then it's pro boxing. So I reckon Paul's probably hasn't really been proper teaching me amateur style anyway throughout the years anyway. He's just showing us loads of things, you know what I mean? And so we probably weren't too far off like adapting to the pros anyway, myself personally. But the way I see it, I think like people think like you turn pro and you slow the pace down, you go flat-footed, and you like putting everything into every shot, which obviously you putting everything into every shot anyway. But if you look at the likes of like your Manny Pacquiao's and your Lomachenkos, they're like they're in and out, side to side, fast on the feet, you know what I mean? Because I've seen people who will turn pro and will like proper plant their feet, and they've got slow feet. But I don't know, I'm not looking to really change my style too much. I'm just looking to add to it, you know what I mean, and learn about the inside game as much as I can. And that's what we're doing in the gym. That's what I've been doing in the gym with the lads for years. And I'm not looking to, because my style's got me where I've got me. It's got me all them medals. I know it's a different game.
Your style is very impressive. The angle changes and the intensity. Yeah. It's and at your weight, it works in the pros anyway. Yeah,
definitely. But I know what they understand. Like obviously, there's 12 rounds. It's not 3. You know what I mean? So you're gonna end up at some point. You're gonna do a few rounds like on the inside. You know what I mean? So that's probably the side of the game where probably you work on. No, not what you work on, but I mean what you haven't really had. What you haven't really need to use in the amateurs. You know what I mean? What I will have to probably quite a lot over my career. So it's it's just obviously I'd done my time in the amateurs, didn't I? So it was I reckon it was a bit like with the COVID, it was a bit overdue, lad, by the time it come, you know what I mean? Because like that COVID was just mad, lad. It was obviously the NJB, we were like half worried about people getting COVID before tournaments. So we were doing like before like the Olympics, lad, and before like the qualifiers and that. The second time, I think, the second qualifiers where I'd already qualified, they was having us down there, lad, for like however many weeks straight, you know, like in like a bubble, which is understandable, but like I don't know, it was a bit different to what it had been like over the years, which obviously it was because of the COVID, but it was
completely different.
Yeah, it was when we got obviously after the Olympics, when I turned pro and that, and I was back home, lad, with the family, and just obviously my younger brother Arjo, he boxes, done he, and my older brother he boxed amateur for a bit, but he just trains non-stop anyway, lad. So we're always like, it's just nice to get home, lad, and just be training with them, and even just being in the gym with the lads. I grew up with Andrew boxing, you know what I mean? Obviously we went on different paths. He turned pro, and then I got on the squad, so I missed loads of time with him in the gym, and then obviously Nick Ball and Brad Standard in the gym, and just it's good times for us now. Like these next few years are going to be, I reckon we're all good enough to become a world champion, know what I mean? Obviously we'll see what way people go and who people fight, and obviously sometimes in boxing you need a bit of luck as well, do you know what I mean? But like ability wise, even at Joe, we're all just like we want to learn, know what I mean? We want to get better, and we just listen to Paul and Anthony. Anthony's when I told you about the lads from Townsend Boys, and we joined Everton Triangle. He was one of the lads I joined with on my first day, and he was amateur for years, but he's now my coach. Know what I mean? So it's when like eventually we get to world titles and that, even any fight we win, it's boss, because obviously I joined the first day. I joined, Anthony joined as well. Do you know what I mean? He's been my mate for years, but like it's gonna be good times for us when like even for Paul, for me, Anthony and Paul, just because like it's been a long journey on it. Do you know what I mean? And we've still got years to go, but I just mean once we start getting like the rewards that we deserve and that, it's gonna be special. Like it's gonna be boss.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years, lad. I'm definitely a world champion. Like, if not, I reckon at some point I want to become a world champion at super bantam first. But I reckon it was like when it's like the low weights, that the weights aren't even like that far apart. Know what I mean? So it's not like the cruisers, the like middles, like they're like stones apart. Lad, whereas feather to me, it's only like 1.7 key. So it's like, I reckon at some point I'll probably move up to featherweight, you know what I mean? But I want to, I'm super bantam at the minute. I want to try and, I want to win a world title first. 1, 2, whatever, however many at super bantam, and then I'll probably eventually move on to feather, and I don't know about how much more, like, but I'm definitely big enough to do them 2 weights. But yeah, that's what I see myself. I'm definitely a world champion within 5 years, like.
Definitely, and yeah, I can see that happening.
Yeah.
What's your prediction, Inoue Fulton?
Lad, I've never really watched that Fulton lad live. Well, I've never watched him live, but obviously was over there, lad, when Newbie boxed Butler, when I boxed on that card. So I'm gonna go with a Newbie lad. He was just like, he's heavy and he's good fighter, lad, but it's just a balanced lad and just always ready to punch in. Obviously, when he was hitting Butler and that, like Butler looked like he was. Even when he was hitting the Wonder Gloves and that, know what I mean? He obviously, his record speaks for itself anyway. Like he looks like an hard puncher, but I don't know, because Fulton's fast lad, and he's slick lad. He's a good fighter. But myself personally, I'll go with a newbie. Like, who do you think?
Probably Inoue. I don't know. I really don't know, to be honest with you. I'm excited though.
Yeah.
I'm excited. There's so many good fights happening now,
I know,
which you can't really call it.
That
so.
Canelo Charlo one, lad.
Yeah, that got called today.
I know. I've seen it before. I was thinking belter.
Yeah, that's going to be big.
I know.
Have you got any sponsors you want to thank or anything before we
Yeah,
end
I was
the
going to
podcast?
say me top then with Notjustboxing here. Like, got obviously MAJ Law, lad. They've been with me from like amateur days. Proper loyal sponsor for us. Me and Arjo, lad. They're like a lawyer's firm, and got a Quadrants building inspector's firm, and then I've recently, about 6 months ago, John Maguire Fire Protection. He's joined on board, but yeah, it's obviously, lad, I haven't boxed for time, have I? So without them, lad, it's there'd be no funds coming in, lad, and they keep you going, lad. They help you be able to go to the gym every day and that, when obviously you've got no fight. So yeah, thanks to them.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast, mate, and I'll catch up with you soon.
Sound, lad, thank you.